Hello everyone, welcome to Lighthouse Stamping with Lorraine. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Vancouver, Washington. Thank you for joining me today. Before I get started, all the housekeeping notes, all the product I'm using and all the dimensions will be listed below. There's a link to my online store if you wish to purchase any of these products and help support this channel. There's my email address if you have any questions. There's our Facebook group if you'd like to join that. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe and help me grow in YouTube world. Well, today we're going to play with this pretty paper that's in the Celebration Blooms of Expression. I've showed this before, but I thought I'd show you real quick again if you hadn't seen the previous video. There is 6 designs, and this one, I only have this much left of that particular paper. And then the back sides of these, it's just a beautiful watercolor. Some are watercolors and have muted flowers. So it's very beautiful paper. And you can get this for free starting January 7th with a $60 purchase. The other set we're going to be playing with today is Memorable Blooms. And this is a bundle that's in the new mini catalog. And it's got some beautiful flowers and some great sayings. And it's got dies. And I haven't pulled my dies yet. There's these 2 here. You can do these separately or together. And we'll be playing with those today. And we're going to be die cutting a couple of the flowers, this one and this one. And then there's this one standalone branch. So they're really beautiful. And as I play with stuff, I tend to cut stuff out. And this is that beautiful branch that I've cut out of Shy Shamrock. But I decided not to use it. So I keep little things I've made and I didn't use in my box so that I have them for next time. So what are we making today? We're making a little fun fold. There's a little stamping on here. And then there's this card here. But it's not your typical card. This is a tower card. I've made these before. I've already made horizontals. This is a vertical. So it's a little different. And on the back is placed to write. And this is the card we're going to make today. So let's get started and get some stamping done. I have, unless I miss my places here, this should be 4 by 5 1/4. This is for the back of our card. And I have a piece of scratch paper here, scrap paper, to do some stampings. Ink we're using Basic Gray and Petunia Pop today. So let's get the gray. Oh, and I need an envelope. Which is sitting underneath the plates to the die cutting machine. There's one thing we won't be stamping right now, but we'll be doing it after we die cut. So we're going to start with the gray, and we're going to do this very large flower. Cluster of flowers, I should say. And I'm just going to put him right about there. And then we're going to do this one here. Like that. Now, put those out of my way. This one here, we're going to actually put on the back of our card. I'm going to set them about like that. And I'm going to use the same one for my envelope. So let's all set those to dry for a second. Anytime you're going to use blends, which I am, it's always a good idea to stamp everything first and let it dry for just a minute. And you can use any of our inks to work with blends because these are water-based and the blends are alcohol. So you can use other colors. And I do like using gray a lot of times or smoky slate just so it's not as harsh as black. And this little stamp, we're doing Petunia Pop, and then I'm putting my thumb right in the middle of the ink. Excuse me while I wipe that off. You mean the world to me. Get this as centered as possible. It's a nice, bold font. Now we'll come back to the Petunia Pop in a little bit to stamp one more thing, but that needs to happen after the die cutting. So, let's do some coloring. I am using all of the new ink colors for this year that came back out in May. So we're going to be using all those colors today. So let's get started here. Let's do the envelope and this first because I'm going to color these very similar. I have a piece of scratch paper. It's a little die cut I had. If you're going to do an envelope with blends, you want to put a piece of cardstock or a double layer of typing paper or something down in the corner so that you don't bleed through your envelope. And what am I going to color these? I don't want to color them exactly like the last one. So I think we'll start with light peach pie. And I guess I could scoot this in a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. Anyhow, I didn't pre-color these. I thought, I'll just wait and do them all at once. So I'm sort of following just the outside of the line here. And this one, I'm going to do the smaller one in the peach. Like I said, I don't necessarily want to do them all the same as the last card. And then I'm going to come in with the dark. And where the folds are on these, just going to do this one. I colored that one off, I'm sorry. And that. And I think we'll do Petunia Pop on the other ones. So we have light Petunia Pop. Sorry, I remember I've got the camera zoomed in. I have to remember to move my paper around. Like I said, I'm just doing some quick coloring. But you could do these with chalks or watercolor markers or, you know, whatever you wanted. And I'll get this one over here. Switch ends on this one. It's a bigger open area. And this was the light. And then the rolled up edges, I'm going to come back and do in the dark. I missed part of that. You know what? I'm going to do the whole thing in dark because it's a back flower and it can be a little darker. Just a little bit. I missed that one too. Why didn't someone tell me I was missing part of that flower there? We'll do the same thing. We'll just grab the dark peach pie and do that back flower. Stands out a little more. And you could go in here and do more if you wanted to make it stand out a little more. Okay. And then my leaves on this one, I used Light Shy Shamrock. Like I said, I'm not getting into details. I'm just coloring like I'm coloring in a coloring book. You could go over this with more darker and do a lot of detail. But I really didn't think this card really needed that much. So there's the envelope. If I take this out, you can see I don't have ink on the back side of my envelope here. So that one's done. I'll try to speed up my coloring now. I should have colored some of this ahead of time, but I didn't today. And that one there. So that's that one. And we do have our little pieces here. So this one, I'm going to do these in light. I'm just hitting these little things with a little bit of Light Shy Shamrock. Just to add a little color in there on them. And this one here. And then on this one, no. We're going to do these little ones here in Shy Shamrock. And we're going to color, but we're not going to color this whole thing because we don't need the whole thing. We're only going to color down about right there. Right there is about as far as we have to color on this. And I've got another small leaf here. Looking for the small leaves to make sure I don't miss them. And these three right here. I think that's all the small leaves. And now I'm going to come in with Light Summer Splash. And I'm doing the big flower ones in the Summer Splash. Or you could do them the other way. I did them the other way on the other card, so I decided to swap them. Summer Splash is sort of a blue-green, which I do like. I need to color this one. We don't need to cover those ones, but we do need to do these guys. So did everybody have a wonderful weekend? We had a very rainy weekend. So there's that part. Now I'm going to use light petal pink and do these little flowers. Like I said, I'm not getting too fussy about them. I'm going to come back with a little dark on a little highlight on a couple of them. And that's all the little ones. Let's put a little highlight on a couple of these. Especially these ones that have a spot where we can actually do that. And this one, and a little bit here. Just adding a little highlight. Oops, sorry, I'm out of the camera again. I have a tendency to do that. I'm sorry. And this one we're going to do in Light Petunia Pop. And we only need to do those flowers, right? Those two top ones. Promise, I'm just about done coloring. Sometimes I do it ahead of time, but sometimes I don't. And I'm going to grab just a little bit of the dark. There we go. I am done coloring those. And I will get this camera back out. Okay, so those are ready to die cut. And I think die cutting is what we need to do next. I am grabbing Auto here, my Stampin' Cut Boss machine. I have plate 1, plate 2, and 2 plate 3s. And we're going to die cut those flowers. grab some Post-it tape here. Sorry, I'm trying not to get my head in the camera, but I'm also trying to get it lined up good. And then this one here. Like that. So we have those two die cut. Okay, we've got a little more die cutting to do. And that is with those beautiful dies. These guys right here. We need one cut out of white cardstock. Because this will just cut us a nice frame, and this is to go with the inside portion. So we just need one white. Hold this up so you can see. You could just use this as part of the card. You see the detail that's around that? Or you have this with just a nice little stitching. We're using this part, I'm keeping this part. I used it on something else. The next thing we need to do is we need to cut the frame that's going around our saying on the front, and this is Petunia Pop Glimmer paper. This is found in the annual catalog with the other all five Glimmer papers. And so I wanted something to spice this up on the front. So now I'm putting this in the center, and then I'm going to put this in the center of this. And what this is going to do, and I want to make sure I get it lined up so I've got my, spacing here pretty even. And tape doesn't work too good on the Glimmer paper, so hold it and get your plate in place. And run this through. Now, Glimmer paper is thicker, and I found with the detail in this, I needed to run this through about 4 times on my machine. Everybody's machine will be the tension slightly different on everybody's machine. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this out, leaving it on the plates. I'm going to try to show you this. Flip it over, leaving the dies all attached. I want to see that all of this has been cut, and it has. If it hasn't, flip the plates over like that, run it through this direction, upside down one more time, and that usually will do it. The Glimmer paper is a little thicker than cardstock, and so it does take a bit more. And that, I believe, is the end of our die cutting. So what we have here, we have that piece with that pretty, it's not as visible on this. It's still very pretty. And then what we're gonna do is gently grab my pokey tool here. We're gonna start kicking out some of these bigger pieces. And then when we do, see, this is separate, and we want to gently pull this off. There's one little piece stuck. I'll get it here before I forget about it. Always clean your dies. And then what we want to do is just gently remove the pieces that don't belong. And I do find that doing it from the back side is easier on the eyes, especially with Glimmer paper and bright Glimmer paper. And you could use your brush for this if you wanted, but there's not that many pieces. Do watch you don't poke your finger. Don't want to push too hard on some of these because they are small and fragile. But it's so worth it to take the extra minute to do it because they are pretty. I'm just about there. Got one that doesn't want to stick out. Just doesn't want to go. And this one. And this guy. The dimensions for all these pieces of paper will be listed below. And I think that's the last one. The back's much easier. And there is the front of our card. Very pretty. That's for the front. That is big enough to get some leaves or something out of. Anything that's big enough to get die cut a leaf or something out of Glimmer paper, I keep it. This is just easier. So next what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, and you can see how it fits over this. Now before I hook any of this down, I am going to grab a little piece of tape or a Post-it note or something. And I want to line this all up, and I want to tape this right here because I need to stamp in here, and I don't want to glue it down and then find out it's wrong and try to remove the Glimmer to paper. But this, boy, I'm having a hard time with this Petunia Pop. It wants to keep on getting all over me today. Thanks so much. Actually fits up here. So if you get in here and look where you're going, fits right there. Now we can glue this together. I'm going to grab my silicone mat just in case I make a mess. And grab some glue. And just putting a little glue around the outside. And then putting just little dabs in some of the bigger open areas on here. That should be enough to hold the little guy down. Now I'm going to take it off there so I have a chance. Then start at the bottom here. Lining up. And yes, you'll get glue on your fingers, but it washes. And just push that all down so it's in place. And then wash your fingers off. And I still put the mat here and still got glue over. Isn't that pretty? Okay, so we have the flowers, we have the back. We do need our bling, which I've got off to the side. And we do need some, I call them little sprigs. And I made these out of, this is the In Color ribbon. This is Pretty Pink. And this one is Summer Splash. So I call these little picks. It's 3 inches of ribbon. Took a glue dot and glued them together. So I have 4. So we need those for the card. And I think we are ready to make the card base. So we're going to need the trimmer. And we need some paper. Yeah, I was looking at this. I thought, oh, I'm going to make a column card. And then I thought, you know, I've never made a vertical one. So I sat down to figure out how to make a vertical one last night. Well, 2 nights ago. I figured if I can make a horizontal, there should be a way to make a vertical. So this is, this is very important. This is 4. It's 8 inch. Let me just start over with the dimensions. This is 8 1/4 inches long. I've cut a 1/4 inch off of the 8.5 by 11, so it's 8.5 1/4 by 5.5. And we are going to score this. And you know I like to score down here when I'm close to me. I find it easier. And we're going to score at 1 inch. These are very difficult measurements. 2 inches. 3 inches. And 4 inches. And then we have another piece of Petunia Pop that is 4 3/4 by 3 3. I'm terrible with measurements today, I tell you. 4 3/4 by 3 1/4 high. And we are going to score that at 3 1/4 and 4 1/4. Like I said, all the dimensions will be listed below. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to do some burnishing. Burnish these two here. And these 4. Now, this card is going to go like this. Got a piece of ribbon stuck to my hand. It's going to go like this. And when I was closing this, I was discovering there's just a little too much paper here, and it wasn't allowing to close flat. So what I decided to do is serious surgery. I'm just going to come in with my scissors. Oh, I grabbed the wrong pair of scissors. Taking just a sliver off that first one. It's easier to take it off that way than do it. Now it will lay flat. Okay. So before I do that, I want to do some of the DSP. Now we have the one we just cut on. That's going to be hidden. So it's these 3 panels we're putting the DSP on. And the card closes this way. Okay. So I have my DSP. And we're using this beautiful Bloom paper. And I have 3 panels for this. And these are, I don't know, they are 7/8 by 5 3/8. Gonna go right here in the center. Whoa, you see what I just did? Make sure it's stuck down before you move your hand. Okay, now this part of the card we need to glue down. So take 2, lay them down, this one like this, put glue on this piece here. You do need to do this before you try to put your DSP on the next section. Give that a nice rub. And it goes like that. Now we have this piece of DSP, which is 3 1/8 by 5 3/8. You know what's wrong? I need more caffeine. I am a tea drinker. I drink tea all day long. And this is going to go right in here. Fold that back a little bit, it helps. And we've got little 1/8 inch borders around this. Some more tea for mommy. You wouldn't even know that those girls are actually in the room here today. So this is going to go on this way. So I want to make sure I'm looking at the right direction. Now I cut a different type of paper, just as the other thing. This does have, this one is directional because you can see the grass coming up. So you want to make sure that it goes on the right way. And this piece is 3 1/4 by 3 1/4. It's going to cover this entire panel. There's no margins on this one. Lining up the bottom. top. Covering the whole panel on that one. And then this one is 7/8 by 1 3/8. Yeah, that's right. Just don't listen to my measurements. Just take a look below. I'll mess you up if you do. And this one, I'm going from top to bottom, just like I did this one. Okay? So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put the back panel on. And I can't get over how quiet they're being. They were really noisy earlier. And this one does have a 1/4 inch border, but you could make it 1/8 if you want. Okay, so this is going to go on just like this. So this panel here, I'm not using glue. I am going to use tear and tape because it's just so much easier. So put a piece of tear tape on that one. So what we're going to do is we're going to line this up, and I'm going to line this, I'm going to lay this flat so I can look at my grid, because I want to line this up. We're going clear over to this edge, clear over, but I want to make sure that I've got this, it's like 1 1/4, just slightly less than 1 1/8 in between. I just want to get it square and lined up straight. So that's about where I need it. I'm going to flip this over, and I'm adding glue just like this. You can use tear and tape here if you wanted. Left my finger there where I need it. Then right over to the edge and hold that really good for just a second. We don't want it sliding on us. So it's going to come back like that. Now the easiest way to do this one is to take the backing off your tear and tape, fold the whole thing back. You see I've got it folded back like this, and push it all the way over to the other side because this comes to this side. Rub it, and there's your card base. Pretty easy, huh? Like I said, it goes together differently than a horizontal, because a horizontal, we're here and we have a lot more space on this side. Vertical has less, but I thought it was sort of cool. Okay, let's build rest of this card. So this is going to go right here. So before I put this up on dimensionals, I'm going to start attaching things onto here. And what I need to do is I need to close this way, and I'm going to grab a block. I grabbed one earlier. And put it right like this, so I can keep this open, because it's very important that when I put my pieces in, I stay inside the framework of the card or will hang over. So I can come down a little bit. Just have to look where you're going, and I'm going to glue this one on. Just make sure this is upright. I was looking about like that. Glue gives you a chance to make sure you're inside the framework. The other thing I'm going to be using a lot of is glue dots in a minute. So the next one is the flower coming out the top, and this is the one I didn't color all the way down. And the reason for that is we don't need to. And you could actually cut this piece off if you wanted, but I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to use it for gluing. I'll put this back over here, set this back down, make sure everybody's inside the framework of the card. All right, now we got that one. The next is we're going to put my little picks in. I'm going to put one of each, and I'm going to use glue dots for this. Maybe I'm using glue dots. There it is. Looking for my picky tool. And I'm going to use same principle as the other. I'm putting one glue dot on there, there's one holding it together. And I'm gonna look at this. Just tacking it lightly, not too tight. That works good. Do the next one. I wanted some ribbon on it, but I didn't really want a bow. Now this one's going this way off this corner, so I want to make sure. Yep, we're still good. So there's those two, and we have two more. It's now going to stay down enough that I can move that. And this one will be a little easier because we have a lot more space. I'll put this one right about there. Yep, we're still good. It's the biggest thing is just making sure that you stay inside your card base. That looks pretty good. Okay. We've almost got this done. Now we're going to put a lot of dimensionals. We have a lot hooked to the back of this, so I want to not too much over the ribbon. Put a lot of dimensionals to hold this all together. Like I said, I'm just touching the edge of the ribbon on some of these, but not totally. And like I said, I'm using a lot of them. So there's a lot hooked onto this. And then we peel. You guys ever gone to bed and all of a sudden you felt something by your foot and you pulled the blankets back and found that you had a dimensional back in your bed? That happened the other night. I'm like, they get everywhere. Probably stuck to the bottom of my foot. I hadn't noticed it. And what I'm doing is I'm lining this up inside here. I'm not pushing down, making sure I've got everybody lined up top and bottom, because this is almost the same size as the base we're going on to. And that's what we have so far. But it needed some bling. Glitter paper wasn't enough, so I grabbed the In Colors Shimmer Dots. And I used a little bit of this peach pie on the back, but I didn't really use a lot on the front, and there is peach in here, so I decided to use the peach dots. I'm gonna put a big one right about there, and two small ones down here. Make a little cluster of them. There we go, and that, like I said, they stick everywhere. That is our card today. Folds up, fits into a nice envelope. And I think it's quite pretty. So give it a try. So please remember, like, share, and subscribe. If you want to purchase any of these products, please visit my online store. At this point, you might want to wait until tomorrow, since it is the 7th and all these products will be available. So have a wonderful day, and I will see you on Thursday. Goodbye.